Welcome back, everybody, to Alpha Bow Hunting. I'm Phil Mendoza, and we're going to continue on the Better Bow Hunting series with some arrows as the topic today. And the formula, the ever-evolving process of trying to build your ultimate arrow has many moving parts. And lately, it seems like the two aspects or topics that people want to focus more on is total mass weight or FOC. And I just want to try to simplify this a little bit from my perspective again, and the perspective that we try to follow at No Limits Archery at my shop, as well as the Alpha Bow Hunting coaching system. And the objective should be to build the best arrow you can for the application. Okay, so if you take a step back and you say, well, I want a 500 grain arrow or 560 grain arrow because XYZ said so. Well, because XYZ said so, unless you want XYZ person to go shoot an animal for you, you should focus on your own system and your own setup and work from there. And that starts with, again, identifying the type of animal or animals you're looking to hunt, the terrain you're looking to hunt them in, the method you're going to be hunting them. Again, is it spot and stock? Is it going to be tree stand hunting? Is it going to be ground blind hunting? Water holes, that kind of thing. So you need to try to first identify that. If you're primarily going to be hunting out of a tree stand, to where you know that your shots are going to be limited to 40 yards and in, perhaps, then to think that you need to build an arrow that focuses on speed, you're probably focusing on the wrong characteristic. In that respect, now let me back up, depending on the animal again, right? If you're looking to pursue an animal that is a smaller to medium-sized game animal that's very agile and going to be moving on the shot potentially a little bit more quickly, a little bit more abrupt than a bigger animal, then all those things need to be considered. So that's why I'm saying when you start talking about an arrow build, there's so many moving parts that come into play. So identify the animal, identify the method that you're going to be hunting. And again, if you don't want to be limited, well then just know that I want to be able to hunt from the ground, spot and stock. I want to be able to hunt from a tree stand or ground blind. I'm planning on hunting in terrain that may lend itself to possibly a shorter shot, but I may have to take a long shot. Okay, so now we're starting to take the whole picture into play, and then you start moving into yourself. Okay, I've got a 60-pound draw weight bow at 27.5 inch. You're not going to be pumping out a whole bunch of performance like someone shooting a 75, 80-pound bow at 29 inch. So it's all perspective. So then you need to go measure your effective range based off of accuracy, and then we start to incorporate energy. If you look at those two characteristics, after you've identified the species and the terrain, the method, then you're going to be able to start narrowing down an arrow build. So from there, if you have a certain arrow that you're measuring, you're testing on your current setup, use that as your baseline. That's square one. That's your baseline again, and measure your kinetic energy, understand your momentum, and then start to see how they quantify at distance. And this is all part of what we coach in the Alpha Bow Hunting structure, our all-day workshops. This is what we start to break down with you on a personalized basis. So as you start working down that process, you understand, okay, well, my current setup with my current bow and my accuracy, it's telling me that my energy is pretty low after 40, 50 yards. Okay, and if I'm going to be pursuing large-size game, maybe that's going to be limiting my effective range. So now I want to look at an arrow build that's going to lend itself well to those characteristics. Bigger bone density on an animal, thicker hide, bigger body of an animal, so many other factors and characteristics. So now you're starting to lend yourself to maybe a heavier build and not so much working on speed. So you're starting to identify characteristics that are going to push you down a path, a flow chart if you will, towards a certain arrow build. As you start working from there, I'm going to tell you that the FOC component of it is probably, there's too much credit given in that category. Is it important? To some extent. Is it ultimate? No. I think that as you start identifying those other characteristics first, if you say I want a smaller diameter shaft, a thicker wall shaft that's going to lend itself to more durability, I'm going to go with a .001 straight in the series shaft so that way I can try to eliminate variables, and you start working down your process of what your proposed build is, and you see what your current build is, that's what you're going to be able to directly look at side by side because you've already measured and you've tested and you've written down and quantified your information. And then as you start building your new setup, then you can directly look from one side, one column to the other column and see, okay, this is going to benefit me and this is what I'm looking to benefit. This is a good addition. No, this arrow it's going to be too light. I'm going to eliminate that arrow, and I'm going to start continuing with this arrow, the build that looks like it works, and use that as your, again, determining factor. As we start talking about FOC, I'll tell you that I've got an arrow build here that finishes out approximately 485 grains, and it's got 11.5%, shy of 12% FOC. I've got another arrow build here that's not the same length, it's a little bit different length, a little different components, more tip weight, same spine arrow that's falling into that 15.5–16% FOC range. Now, I hunted with this specific setup last year for a couple species, and it did very well. I really like the build. It's a heavier setup, something that I may still consider for bigger size game. But something like this could be an overall well-built arrow. Again, I still have enough mass weight that I'm looking for. I've got a strengthened collar here. This is an iron wheel. This is new this year with 100 grain tip, standard insert. So still strong components, a little bit more FOC, but now the weight's a little bit more evenly distributed. But I still have a thick walled shaft, small diameter shaft, a little different fletch configuration. So this may be a better overall build for me for all species. This could lend itself very well to medium to bigger size game species because of, again, a little bit more overall weight, a little stronger components, if you will. Not I want to say stronger, but more weight towards the components. Stainless steel on this collar. There's just a few more characteristics that would lend itself to that category. Do I get hung up over if I'm going to shoot this at an elk or this at an elk? I'm going to shoot what's more accurate and what's going to give me the most options to be successful. So going away from trying to hit a specific FOC or a specific overall arrow weight, I'm going to encourage you to focus more on arrow straightness, spinning your arrow, component alignment. If your arrow components don't align well, they're not going to fly. They're not going to fly consistent, and they're not going to steer broadheads well. So rather than getting hung up on other features that are measurables, and I'm not saying to ignore them, I'm just saying I would rather shoot a 440 grain arrow that spins well, everything's accurate, aligned well, spins broadheads well, is accurate out to distance, than a 500 grain arrow that components potentially aren't aligned well, or they're not giving me the consistency that I'm looking for. So I've shot elk many years ago with a 380 grain arrow, and I've shot elk with a 545 grain arrow, and everything in between. And not just one elk. I mean, I've put many elk, mule deer, whitetail deer, pronghorn down with different arrow builds. So to tell you that I'm speaking off of one kill, that's not the situation. This is both my experience and experience of those that work with me, and also pulling off some of their experiences, because, you know, as you start compiling your own experiences and other kills and other people's kills, I mean, you start putting together, you know, 80, 100 plus elk put on the ground with a specific, with a range of arrow builds. The FOC is all across the board. So FOC is not going to equate to more success, or excuse me, more FOC is not going to equate to more success. A heavier arrow is not going to equate to more success. It's the right combination of all the moving parts for you and your build and your draw length and your bow and your accuracy that you can put together. Now, again, what we focus on from there is showing you how to mold that process, if you will, or mold your build, and then showing you how it directly relates to your effective range and how you should plug things into play, so that way you can know what is a good shot at what distance. Just because you're shooting, you know, 18% or 19% FOC doesn't mean that you should still take a shot at your last third of your effective range in all situations. That's not going to band-aid the other moving parts that come into play when it's windy, when the animal's moving, when the animal's alert, when you're not in a great position from a shooting stance platform to where you can execute a shot well. So take a step back. Again, focus on good alignment, focus on a straight arrow, focus on good components. You know, I don't want poor components, poor quality components that are going to potentially fail on me. But I want to focus on more alignment and accuracy, and then use the species and the terrain to dictate your weight and your speed, because that's going to be your best approach, in my opinion, as opposed to just saying I'm going to go the heaviest, the most FOC possible, and it's going to handicap or mask everything else that comes into play. It's not. Again, I had a video before in this series talk about speed. Speed is very critical if you're hunting an animal that's going to, you know, mule deer, for example, in high country above timberline. You may experience shots in your middle third or last third of your effective range regularly, just because of the open terrain, open country. You know, sheep as another hunt that species that I've hunted myself and with others, that, you know, you could have a 30-yard shot, you may have a long shot, you know, both archery equipment or rifle. So that a little flatter shooting arrow that's going to get there a touch quicker, that you're not going to lose as much trajectory, there's a place for that. So don't discredit speed over overall weight. You need to incorporate them both into your system and understand how your hunting style and the species you're going to pursue, how that all meshes together, and just use that. Like I said, there's so many tools and measurables that we can utilize as bow hunters. It's a really great time for bow hunters right now, because things have evolved to where there's a lot of good components, there's a lot of good equipment, there's good coaching out there, there's a good understanding of process and methodologies and theories, and guys like Chris Rowe and some of these other, you know, people that are very good at what they do from an animal behavioral standpoint, to help tell you, hey, if you're seeing this situation or this behavior in an animal, you should try this or consider that, because this is a direct, you know, pair or match of what that situation is unfolding. So there's so much good information right now, not just in archery equipment, that as a bow hunter, unless you're lazy, there's a lot of tools out there to help you be successful. So I hope you're enjoying the video series so far. I'm going to take a pause on this course, this series, if you will. I'm going to still continue to add to it as we go along, as we get more outside and start shooting in the field, and some more angle shots, and getting out to shoot at some different 3D ranges this summer. But I'm going to start 2 other video series on the channel here. One that's going to get more involved into, you know, money in the industry of the archery business, and just again, from my perspective as both a tournament shooter at one point, to a general consumer, to a business owner and event coordinator now. I don't know everything about the outdoor and archery industry. I've got a good grasp on multiple facets of it, and I'm going to just tell you what I've learned and what I see, just from a financial standpoint. So look for that series. In addition to that, I've got another series I'm really excited about, on a vehicle build, on a hunting rig build, that I actually started that process about 2 years ago, and I went down one road with one vehicle, and I've since sold it, and I've purchased a second, and or a separate, different vehicle, and I'm going to go down the whole rabbit hole of just trying to build the ultimate hunting rig, the features of that, the components that I'm going to put into it, everything from tires to lift to, you know, interior organization to exterior features. And like I said, I'm going to bring you with me as I work on that build. I'm pretty excited about that. So a lot coming forward. There's also a new feature that we added. It may be up or may be coming up very soon after you see this video. Just a behind the scenes, if you will, overview summary of getting ready for the first Alpha Bow Hunting Challenge of this year. And just some of the things that I deal with on a day-to-day, not just with the archery shop business, but also with the personal. Just a little bit of a better real-world view from my day-to-day life, getting ready for those type of events. So check that out. As always, if you like what you're seeing, subscribe. Please click the notification, the bell notification, and comment. Add some more topics to this series, because I'd love to be able to cover them, whether it's in a video like this, or we actually get in the pro shop and evaluate some things and break some things down to either give you a different perspective, or just a different evaluation of what you may have already been working on. So appreciate it. Hey, and as always, with archery and bow hunting, sky's the limit. So I encourage you to dream big, shoot straight, and we'll see you soon.